So, what are the most important steps someone should take before starting their job search?
Well, it's nice to be here. Treat it like a job because doing a job search is a job. And I like to start with your mindset. You're not the first one, you're not going to be the last one, but everyone goes through it in one time or another, sometimes more than others. But the key is to approach your job search like a job, and it's your mindset. I think it's really important to have that positive mindset because if you don't, you get, depressed. I don't even use that word, depressed. You get kind of discouraged. But everyone has been there. And I think if you think of it in that, but also you do have skills. Think about all the skills that you require, transferable skills. So again, it's your mindset, the positive attitude every day, because I like to say lacing up your shoes, go for that run, is being prepared and tackle it. Like you're going to work for 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, or you're doing shift work. Treat it like a job because it is. It's work.
How has it changed the job search with the rise of remote work and digitizing everything? It feels like applying on LinkedIn, you just become a number in the system. It becomes like depersonalized. Do you agree with that?
I agree. There are, and that's where the hidden job market comes into play. That's where it's so important to get on LinkedIn. I tell, I teach job search to adults in continuing education, and I tell them if you can to get on LinkedIn. Number two is to connect with recruiters, uh, hiring managers, connect, because, and then network. Yes, I feel like there's a lot of competition. However, there is a job out there, and go back to the hidden job market. We have to tap into that. And it's so important. And how do you do that? I also think word of mouth. I think sometimes going back to the basics, word of mouth, tell all your family and friends, tell getting connected with people, because people like to help people. I really do believe that. And information interviews. That I've always from when I first started looking for work or projects is to get an information interview. Look at it and say, hey, I wouldn't mind going into a trade. Hey, I wouldn't mind um, going to software. I wouldn't mind. How do I do that? By asking the key people, an information interview over the phone, by Zoom, or in person. But I think we have to really look back to the steps and apply the new and the, I don't know, traditional, and embrace both, because digital is not going away. It's not. AI is not going away, and we have to embrace it. And I think that is the key. And I hope I answered your question, but I think it's using as a tool. Um, LinkedIn, I really believe in that.
Right. So, if you could say more about what an information interview is, and then say a little bit more about what
Mm.
is the hidden job market, that sounds very mysterious. I'd love to know more.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Well, the information interview, I'm big on that because that's where jobs, not saying if you don't have that job opportunity with that employer, prospective uh, employer, if you will, there may be an opportunity that they may know someone. So you go for the job information interview. You want 10 minutes, but be prepared. Ask the question. You don't want to waste their time. And say, okay, I want a job in software. Okay, look at what type of role that you would like. Ask the right person. It could be HR, it could be the person who's doing the job. Have some key questions. Then ask, okay, we're not hiring right now, but is there somebody else that may be hiring? And with that information interview, they'll remember you. They'll say, oh, I don't need to apply. Like they may not even post the job because they know your face. It's like, it's like they want to hire someone who they're familiar with, generally speaking. For the um, back to the hidden job market, it's the same thing. So the information interview, connecting with people. And I think that is so important. And how do you do that? LinkedIn. It's also finding out like networking opportunities, like going online. Everywhere you go is working remotely, right? You go on these summits, like speaker summits, you go on to networking functions. And I think if you ask your friends or colleagues, they're going to be able to say, oh, I know someone. I know you can get to this networking function for tech. Now I belong to a tech um, function networking and I'm interested, but then I can have someone else come with me to help them. So it's there are opportunities out there, but we have to look deeper now,
Mhm.
and then with remote work, and I do believe that you have to be open to that because that's where it's not going to change. You can go hybrid because some people, you go for a job interview and they'll say, well, would you mind working remotely? Well, you have to be able to, yes, be flexible because the job market is changing and it could be a job role that they have no remote, but then they could change their mind. So you really have to have questions laid out, but also expect the unexpected is where I'm going.
Sure. And in regards to networking, it's such an important skill and it's such an important advantage for those that are good at networking. But again, going back to the basics, because a lot of Gen Z, maybe just graduating high school, graduating post-secondary, they're very new. Maybe they've done a couple internships, but they're just beginning their professional experience. So, how do we get good at networking? First of all, what is networking? Do you have any tips on effective networking? And maybe what are some mistakes that you see young professionals make that we could give our audience to avoid?
Well, that's very good questions. I like to suggest a mentor. A mentor is someone who can come and know. You can change a mentor. You just because you find someone you think, oh, they're great, but you could change it along the way. But I do believe having someone to help you. It could be an agent. Say if you're in broadcasting, you need someone as an agent, a mentor. But the key is that networking, I always say to everyone, network, 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 network. What does that look like? Well, it's just being out there. Like it's not enough doing, in my mind, it's not enough going on virtual networking functions. It's being out there where they can see you, they can relate. And I do think having business cards and like just go back and I have business cards with my face on it. Because it's not enough having a name and your master's or a PhD or degree, and it's having that picture. And I've been getting good feedback, but I also think mistakes are going to happen, lessons learned, and I think that if you don't try, then you're not going to know. Fail is good because that's how we learn. But the mentor can help you prepare questions. Finding someone that is supportive. You need that support network. And that is another thing too. And then it's stressful. Like I was going back to the first one, is like your mindset. Um, I also think there's like AI. There's lots of questions you can ask AI. What kind of questions for this position that you're thinking of? But I also think is being prepared, having the questions ready. And um, I think I've answered all your questions. It's just looking in the bigger picture. There's room. There's room because for every generation, because I believe that we can all help each other. We just need the tools. And and I could say back to networking, and I hope I answered your question, but the networking is really vital. It's not enough doing it online. It's getting out there and talking to people and and asking the right questions. And what does that what's in a day in a life for you? Um, is there room for growth? Um, because I think that right now we need both. as I keep saying, the online and out there doing it. So I,
So for someone that may have a job but is looking to switch careers, they
mm,
have a certain amount of experience in a certain role, but maybe they're unfulfilled, they're unhappy, and this represents a lot of not just Gen Z, but a lot of workers in modernity. So how do you um, gain relevant experience for a role and start searching for a job while you already have one?
yes, that's a good question. I think you don't want to be taken advantage of, okay? But you could ask the information into, but also internship. You can be a volunteer, but you also can do some gig work. And that means like, um, in my mind, if someone's going to, like, if I may share my, if if I hire someone, I'll have someone intern for a couple of times, and after that you start paying, and they get the experience and they become very vital because you are not only helping them, they're helping you. Because I do believe if you can use the pronoun we, because in where I stand is like I don't just say I know everything. Is when you know is when you don't know. You ask, okay, what does that look like, Emerson? How would you do that? And I'm learning from him as much as he's teaching me. But I also think that the mentorship, going back to internships, but changing careers is asking, looking, and in there's Canada Employment, there's so many trades and so much information out there, but you cross-reference everything. You don't believe everything that you read, disinformation, misinformation. But I think it's the persons who are doing the job. Because I've had people in my course, freelance producing, say, well, how do I get it? I want to change job. Well, take the course. Sometimes taking the course is wonderful. Taking knowledge is power. You may not have the opportunity to get a mentor. You may not have the opportunity to be an intern, but you're taking a course. Because the other day I just finished a semester and I asked this student, I said, you know so much, but why are you taking this this course? Because I want to learn from you. There's resources, vital resources in courses. And sometimes the government will pay, but you can, if you can um, save, but the courses, I'm taking courses. You never stop learning. So that it could be the perfect opportunities to take a course.
Sure. And one of the problems, I'm just trying to throw a bunch of caveats just
Hmm.
to, expound on the conversation, but one of the problems is that people have an ego and they are in a certain position, maybe they are mid-senior or senior, and they're still unfulfilled and they're still unhappy, but they don't really want to take an internship because they'll be looked at as, dropping down, or it's a hit on their ego, a hit on their status. How do we get out of that mindset? How do we put the ego aside and say, I'm willing to sacrifice, the social pressure for long-term happiness, for long-term fulfillment, to be in a career, in an industry that I'm actually happy in?
Yes, I think it's looking at the bigger picture. Know that the word is temporary. It's only temporary. Sometimes, I've been through, you have to pay your dues. They call it earn your dues. But know that you can get out of it, but you also have to visualize it, but you also have to look at and say, is there room for growth? Am I going anywhere? Or you can use it as a stepping stone because your mind is powerful. It's all about the mindset and saying, okay, this is only temporary. And look at it as a stepping stone. Okay, I'm getting to this. It's like a run. Okay, I want to do a 10K. Well, I have to start from the gates, do the training, and know that I'm going to get there. And how do I get there? By having support, knowing that it's temporary, looking at the bigger picture, and that's where you're going to get to the finish line. I really believe that. And reading, using your resources, and knowing that I call in my appointment with myself. Okay, I'm doing this. I'm going to get there. But having been accountable to telling whoever's supportive and saying, okay, I'm doing this internship, I'm doing this course because I want to get out of this job. And yes, I feel like I'm better. I feel I've got my MA, but why am I doing this? And the pay is not as high. It will be. If you look at the growth in the company, or they don't have growth for that matter, look at it this temporary. And that's what I tell myself. And that's how I look at it and think, okay, I can do this. And give yourself time. Could be 6 months for training for a marathon. And I hope that helps because that is how you're going to get into a better position, better mindset, an effective job search.
Mhm.
And know that you're not the only one. There's people out there every day that are losing jobs or changing jobs, whether they get fired or lay off or they're, you know, it's, yeah, I think that you can do this. You can do this.
How do you know when you found the correct job for you? Because it's kind of like online dating or the phenomenon of
Mm,
online dating where you match with someone or you start seeing someone, but it's always in the back of your head where, oh, if I just swipe a little more, if I just go on some more dates, I could
and that,
find someone better. And so coming back to jobs, you land a job, you get the package, but then in the back of your mind, it's like, oh, what if there's another job a couple steps down the line that might pay more, that might be better, that might be more, socially acceptable? How do you get out of that? How do you know when you found a job and you can settle down and do the work?
that's a very good question. I like that. I do believe is when you feel valued,
Mm,
when you feel that you are contributing, when they use, I go back to the word we, because you know what? It's more than just saying, okay, we're having this meeting, but don't include you. They don't, they don't recognize your value. I really believe that if a company may not have the right amount of money that they're going to pay you at this point, or they don't have the benefits, but they're treating you very well and they're including you in everything. And then they say to you, oh, you know what? We like you, but we want to promote you. But they may not want to promote you within the company, they may somebody else, because that's what happened to me. And I do believe, and that's how back to where my show is that I include everyone. I said back to Emerson, if I may say, okay, Emerson, what do you think we should do? And that's how people are going to stay is when you include them. It's not, it takes a team. You need
mhm.
that team building and having all generations to contribute because that's where you're going to get to the finish line and you're going to have successful. Why to come to work? We have to look back. Why are you doing this job? Am I being valued? Like, I've been through where, oh, I don't feel like I'm contributing. I don't feel like, why have a meeting if I'm the manager and I'm not, and someone's micromanaging me? like, it's, you have to have that open communication too and recognize it and know your boundaries. And I think not being afraid to make changes, not being afraid to voice your opinion, you know, um, and I think I hope I answered your question. It
You
goes
did.
back to value.
You did. And you actually brought up a different kind of question for me, which is right now we're seeing a lot of cross-pollination between like the arts and humanities versus the technology industry. A lot of people in tech want to go into the arts, and a lot of people in the arts want to transition into tech. Is the job search the same for both, or is it different? And how do you think about job searching in the arts and humanities versus the tech industry?
Well, it's recognizing, my opinion, what skill set do you bring?
Mm,
Is it a crossover? Because there is, with soft skills, when we're thinking about creativity, critical thinking, and when we think of listening skills, active listening is so important. And then the critique, I think we're all artists, I think we're all creative. Like I know this may be poor example, but when I used to file, I think, okay, how do I do this? I can be creative, think of in my own way. But there is a crossover, generally speaking, because when I was going back transferable skills, it all applies. You need not only the hard skills, but the soft skills that crosses over. So I like tech, I love art. So how do we do that? I think there are opportunities with the digital world. Like when you think about it, like in the when you're thinking about the arts, it's so diverse. And then when you're thinking tech, it's growing. So if you can apply, um, being a coordinator, being a speaker, that is creativity with the social media. What do you need for tech? What do you need for the arts? I do believe that it's becoming, in my opinion, more and more vital, um, with, even with the soft skills. And I hope I'm making sense here. But
Could you
it's,
could you say
yeah,
more about the soft skills? What are
yeah,
the necessary soft
yeah.
skills? And one of the things that I want to focus on is how do you build those soft skills? How do you strengthen
Mhm.
them?
Well, soft skills are just a name a few. Like I said, the critical, the creativity, the active listening, the delegation. Did I say active listening? Those are the some, and team. It's all about, and how do you develop that? Well, it takes time. It's not going to come overnight. It's like when and I do believe we all have them, but it's just to recognize them and build on it. So with active listening is is basically when you go to a networking function, for example, you go to a job interview, is listening to the person and having that. They always say like one mouth and two ears, that saying, but it's listening to what they're saying. It's not only um, what they're saying, but their body language. And that's why I love in person. That's why I love. So if I don't understand something, I'll ask them to repeat it. So those are the things soft skill can be for managers, for team building, for um, because sometimes the employers don't think it's for you. You have to think for them, if I may say. If I'm working on a project, I have to think, well, I have to think ahead. Well, what does she mean, or what does he mean, or wait, and I think, okay, maybe this would help. And then I go into a meeting and I'm listening to what they're saying, and sometimes we're saying something, but we're not really saying. Do you know what I mean? But that's, and how do you do that? It just takes a bit of time, but we all have them. It's just recognizing them, you know, transferable.
And to add on to that, I don't know, it may be a little taboo to say, but I think there are
Mhm.
things called soft advantages as well.
Mm,
Like a hard advantage would be something that you're born with, a talent that you're born with. But a soft advantage, like for example, not drinking alcohol so your mind is sharper, it would be like a really big competitive edge. Do you
yes.
agree with this? Do you have anything more to say about that?
You know what? The only thing I'll add, and this is my take,
Mhm.
your intuition. Your intuition will guide you. I don't know. Like I had an editor, this story, like I gotta, I hope this will help. The editor came, I said, this is a great story. But I went to the editor, I went to Marlon, her name, and I said, I don't know what it is. It's a great story, but there's something I don't understand. I don't want to do it. And she says, don't do it. Your intuition will guide you. That's another thing. Sometimes you have to listen to your inner voice. What it is they're saying and how they're saying. It's not what they say, how they say it. It's being aware. It's like don't rush to conclusions. Don't judge. Look at it deep. I don't answer emails until I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna wait. But that is where I come in, and I also think going for that run. Um, it helps my mindset to think clearly because sometimes when we're stressed and emotional and digging deep, I don't want to answer that email. I don't want to rush for that job interview. I don't want to rush for that meeting because I won't do it unless I feel comfortable. And I think if we go back to listening to our inner voices, inner voice will, it's often 99.9%. And I'm often right. And I'm listening to what the person's saying or how they're saying it. Being aware, and being prepared as much as we can because we cannot control everything, you know. So
Thanks
just,
for
I
that.
hope, yeah.
So, do you see any current trends right now, whether just in society or with technology, that might influence the job search?
I think, and I didn't say this, and I don't know who told me this. AI, artificial intelligence, is called a brainstorming friend. I believe that it could be a helpful tool. Now, I do think in social media, and they call it like noise, if you will. We have to go back to saying, okay, this is what I have to offer. What do I need to get through there? Forget about the noise. There is jobs, but I do think we have to embrace artificial intelligence. We have to embrace social media. We have to go, and I think, like, when you think back on typing, it was to type on the typewriter, and then there was DOS, and thinking, I don't want to change. We have to not we have to adapt. It's changing right now before our eyes. And you know this. You've written a book and you're updating a book. Like if we don't become adaptable, we're gonna lose. Like my course, freelance producing. If I don't adapt, job search, if I don't adapt, I'm not gonna be there. We need to do that. Technology is changing and we have to embrace it. And that's yeah, it's getting very, very much into changing all the time. So,
So then two questions sprout. Number one is how do you use artificial intelligence like ChatGPT? How do you use those tools or systems to brainstorm? Number one. And number two is that how does social media offer an advantage or a benefit in the job search?
yes, well, there's job opportunities on social media. It helps with your brand, right? Your brand awareness. So get out there and be on social media. Not everyone feels comfortable being on social media, but there are networking, there's job opportunities, build your personal brand. And you know what? You reminded me of something as well. Personal development and professional development. Now, some people say, well, what does that look like? Well, when you're out there doing your brand awareness, you're using your personal development to get a job or to change careers. Artificial intelligence rather, when I'm doing a project and I use it all, the more descriptive you are, the better, but I use it as a brainstorming friend and I get my information and then I cross-reference it because I don't believe everything I read. I'm thinking, does that make sense? You have to use common sense. Does it make sense to you?
Mhm.
Like, don't assume that it's true. Don't assume that, all these articles are they're fact. Do your fact check. So, so important. You can use it as a tool. To get inspiration. You can use it for, whatever you want to use it for. But fact check all your information out there because you don't want to be in a situation, whether you're writing an article or doing a talk or any case, is to check. But yes, you know what, it's there, just using it properly.
One of the biggest things, and I've also experienced this, is staying motivated and staying in a positive mindset. And again, keeping motivated and keeping disciplined and being persistent, because it is easy for us to say, oh, it'll work out in the end and you'll eventually
Mhm.
find something. But when you've been doing it for 3 months, 6 months, a year, when your inbox is flooded with rejection emails or just being ghosted by companies, which is a very real thing, it is incredibly um, disappointing. You lose a lot of self-esteem, a lot of confidence, and continuing to do that feels hopeless. So there's so many questions to say, but first of all, how do we combat this? How do we stay motivated and disciplined? How do we not lose self-esteem? How do we not have this impact our identity as humans because we can't find that job yet?
It's like, I said at the beginning, like you're not going to be the first or last person, but I also think it's practicing, stress. Like I think the run and the walk, do yourself self-talk, but I also think it's maybe revisiting what is it. Go to your mentor, your friend, someone you can trust and say, does this resume look okay? Is there something, or go to a job search um, agency or training or do temporary work, apply to an agency and they'll be able to get you off your feet and say, well, nothing's working right now. Maybe I'll go to a temporary agency, and they'll be able to help you get out there. And then you can network as you're doing this temporary role. And then they'll say, are you interested in permanent? And they go, yes. But I've been there. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I join a temporary agency, and then first thing you know, they like me, and then I'm off and running, you know? But yes, it is discouraging 3 months, but look at your resume. Look at, there could be some changes. Go to a placement agency. Also, give yourself, as I said, self-talk. Look at, you know, um, being aware that you're not the only one, as I, keep saying, but having these stress techniques, practicing and also recording yourself. I also think I'm thinking like, but asking, say for example, tell me a little bit about yourself. Practice that. You may have gone for a job interview, but you're thinking, did I answer that right? Practice and look at yourself in the mirror or tape yourself. And and I think that too, and know you've got this. But that's what I tell um, some of the students who came in and said, well, I, you know, I had a job interview, but I don't know how I did. Well, before you go for the job interview, tape yourself and record. And also, again, look at your resume and look at some things that maybe it's just maybe tweak it a bit. But I think temporary work would be a good opportunity. There's lots of agencies out there that could be um, very helpful. If there's nothing else, um, there's help out there. It's just knowing where to go. You know.
Speaking of help, what resources like books or websites or
Hmm.
courses would you recommend for people who maybe are unemployed or maybe are looking to switch jobs?
Yes, I think too is going to the Job Search Canada, uh, workplace in Canada for training, and there might be a free course you can take. They may be having like could be a change of career. But I also think there's a book, Amy Thien Reeves. She's based in Boston, and she's written a book. She's a professional job recruiter, and her book is called A College to Career Explained. It tells you a few things no one ever tells you. It's a great book. It tells you that how to really um, you just need to know that you're not alone. But this is a book by Amy, and you can look her up. She's amazing. And it talks about the hidden job market. And know that um, these transferable skills I was saying earlier, look back on everything that you've done and make adjustments. And then the thing too, um, you know, think of it as what you have to offer for people skills. Like she says here, and I'm just going to read a little bit. I don't want to go on here, but it says you already have the experience you need to succeed in a job. So what is it? Are you well organized? Are you getting along with other people? How are you meeting deadlines? Look at where do you mind hustling? Do you mind working with people or independently? All these things, but that is one resource. But I also, and her name, it's called Job Coach Amy, and she's on Instagram. But she's so much information. And I know I went back to the government of Canada, but there's opportunities and there's LinkedIn. There's courses, LYNDA as well. Um, yeah, and those are the resources. And I think social media has it, not only LinkedIn, but it's it's like helpful information that you can get, but cross-reference everything, of course.
Great, that's great. And I hope those resources do help people.
Mhm.
Christine, this has been a fantastic
Good.
conversation. It's been so much fun talking to you, and it's been very enlightening to understand precisely how many factors and variables go into the job search and how much people should be thinking about all of those variables, as we said. How can our listeners get in touch with you and learn more about your work?
Well, I so enjoyed speaking with you, and thank you. Well, if they'd like to reach me, they can Google my name, which everybody, or AI Google, Christine Blanchette, or go to my website, which is runwithit.ca. You can find me on all my socials, and I love helping people. I can help in job search or mentoring. I'm here to effective speaking, anything that or just ask me a question. I'm here to help. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christine.